Alright, good morning class, it is Mr. Wong here. So today we're going to talk about reporter's speech. So I'm going to upload this video on Friday morning. So why am I recording this video so late in the afternoon? Because I have to wait until my neighbor has stopped drilling, because I think they're having a renovation of their home, and yeah, the drilling has just stopped, so I can record this video. Alright, let's turn to page 90 of your book. Page 90 of Focus. Today we're going to look at reporter's speech. So we're going to learn how to use reporter's speech to report questions and imperatives. So imperatives is just another word for orders or requests, right? Okay, so let's look at exercise 1. So name some popular magazines in your country. Discuss which magazines you have read and what topics you like reading about. So I used to read some magazines like Time and National Geographic and Sports Illustrated, because I like to read about my favorite NBA players. All right. So what magazines do you read now? Okay, let's look at exercise 2. So Darina Parfit did an interview for a lifestyle magazine. Read the interview questions and guess what she does for a living. Okay, so can you look at the questions now and make a guess? So what are you going to wear to the Oscars? Who are you dating? Why did you split up with your fiance? Have you put on weight? Are you on a diet? Okay, so don't look too serious. Blow a kiss at the camera. So is she a singer or model or film director? Okay, we're going to listen to. Okay, we're going to listen to the recording now. So try to see if you have got the correct answer.
CD 3, track 31.
Jessica, is that you?
Yes? What's the matter? You sound upset.
Upset? I'm absolutely furious. That's it. I am never going to give an interview to that magazine again.
Oh dear, what happened?
They know I'm serious about my profession. I've done Shakespeare. I've made films with some of the best actors in the world. I've written a screenplay, and I've just directed a film that's been nominated for an Oscar.
That's right. So what went wrong?
They didn't ask me about my work. They asked me what I was going to wear to the Oscars. They asked me who I was dating and why I'd split up with my fiancé. They asked if I'd put on weight and whether I was on a diet.
They asked you what?
Yes, and that's not all. They wanted to take photographs and they asked me to wear something feminine. Then they asked me not to look too serious and to blow a kiss at the camera. Blow a kiss? Who do they think I am? Marilyn Monroe?
Okay, so can you guess what her job is? So she is obviously a film director, right? Because she made films with some famous movie stars, and she has written a script. Alright, let's look at exercise 4. So read the grammar focus and put the words in the correct order to form reporter questions and imperatives. Okay, before we do that, I want you to turn to page 125 of your book. 125 of your book. Okay, page 125 of your book. So we're going to look at some notes first. Alright. Okay, we're going to highlight some words here. Alright, questions. To report questions, we use the verb ask and make the same changes as in reporter's statements. So do you remember what those changes are? So tenses, pronouns, time expressions like this week, alright, yesterday, and tomorrow, and words referring to places like here and there. Okay, so the word order in reporter questions is the same as in affirmative sentences. Okay, so subject comes before the verb. We're going to look at some examples. The first one, has Serena answered all the questions? Jane asked me if or whether So with yes or no questions, we have to use if or whether. Darina had answered all the questions. So can you write down the symbols? Remember, when we change a question to report a speech, it still follows this order. Subject first, Darina first, and then the main verb, right? Okay, the next example, do you often watch television? I asked her if or whether she often watched television. So remember, okay, this part, the order is, it begins with a subject, and then we have the main verb. Okay, it's still SV, and or maybe O, all right? And when we report WH questions, okay, like why or what, who, how, where, and when, we keep the question word. For example, how old are you? The policeman asked the boy how old he was. So pay attention to this part, right? How old he was. So subject and then main verb, right? And then when did John and Mary split up? Sam asked us when, and then John and Mary had split up. All right, so it follows the order of statements. So subject first and then main verb. Okay, so remember the word order, right? And how about imperatives? To report imperatives, we use the verbs ask or tell, an object, and then to or not to plus infinitive. Infinitive means the original form of that verb, right? For example, please stop talking, and the director asked us to stop talking, right? So we use to. And then don't take any photos of me. So Darina told the reporter not to take any photos of her. Okay, so remember the position of the word not. It's in front of to, not to take any photos of her. All right, so can you now try to do exercise 1? Please do exercise 1 now. So pause the video and do the questions. Question 1 to question 6. Okay, so let's check the answers together. All right. So question 1, has your cousin directed a film before? Sue asked Tom. So this one should be she, or you can use Sue. All right, both are correct. She asked him whether, or Tom, whether his cousin had directed a film before. All right, so look at the instructions. The instructions have asked you to complete the reported questions, imperative with the correct pronouns. Okay, so we have to use pronouns here. And number 2, switch on your tablets. Ms. Smith asked her students. So she asked them to switch on their tablets. Okay, and number 3, what are you doing with my DVDs? Jake asked Mary. So he asked her what she was doing with his DVDs. Jake is a boy. Okay, 4, don't use your mobile phones in class, the teacher told us. The teacher asked, should be us not to use our mobile phones in class. And then 5, where did you first meet your best friend? And asked me. So she asked me where I had first met my best friend. All right. And then 6, join us. Jake and Ron told us. So they told us to join them. Okay, so remember you have to use the correct pronouns when you use reported speech, right? And then let's look at exercise 2. Report the questions. Report the questions. Okay, so please pause the video now and do exercise 2. Okay, let's check the answers together. So the teacher asked in art. So are you interested in art? So I'm going to write my answer here. All right, the teacher asked Jack, and then if or whether he was interested he not. Okay, you have to change are you interested to he was interested, he not. And number 2, how often does your boss update his Facebook profile? Jen asked me. So Jen asked me how we use the same question word. Okay, how often my boss updated, so from present tense, okay, to past tense, updated his Facebook profile. And then number 3, are you going to see this film again? Jim asked Anne. So Jim asked Anne if or whether, and then she was going to see. Okay, this film becomes that film. All right. And then number 4, will you give us an autograph? The boys asked the actress. So the boys, so autograph is like a signature. Okay, so the boys asked the actress, right here, the actress, if, because it is a yes/no question, right? If or whether she, so okay, will becomes would, whether she would give, so us becomes them. Okay, so be very careful when you use reported speech. Okay, number 5, when did you lose your mobile phone? Nick asked Eve. So Nick asked Eve, so same question word, when. And then she, so remember past tense, did she lose, will become past perfect, had lost her mobile phone. Alright, the last one, has Paula painted all these pictures herself? I asked Olga, so Olga should be a girl or woman. So I asked Olga if or whether Paula, and then has Paula painted. So present perfect becomes past perfect. Okay, had painted, or so these becomes those, or those pictures. Okay, herself. Right. So remember, you have to change the tense, and then the pronouns, and then time expressions, and then but you have to keep the sentence pattern. Okay, so the subject goes before the main verb. Okay, remember this rule. Okay, how about exercise 3? Can you do exercise 3 now? So please pause the video and do the exercise now, and then we will check the answers. Okay, let's look at question 1 together. So please close the window, the teacher said to Sarah. So the teacher asked Sarah to close the window. Okay, we use to and then infinitive. So number 2, don't interrupt me, she told John. So she told John. So remember the position of the word not. So not to interrupt. So me should be her, right? And then 3, don't be late for lunch again, Helen, said Dad. So Dad asked, what should that be? Helen. Again, not to be late for lunch again. Okay? And then 4, stop watching television and do your homework, my mum said to me. Sorry, so my mum told me to stop watching television and do, so your becomes my, right? My homework. Be careful with pronouns. And then 5, please come in and wait for me in the living room, Gary told us. So Gary told us to come in and wait for, so me becomes him. Wait for him in the living room. Okay. Number 6, don't ask me about my ex-husband again, the film star told a journalist. So journalist is like a reporter. Okay. So the film star told the journalist and then don't, so not to, right? So not to ask her about her ex-husband again. Okay, so please check your answers. Give yourself a take if you're correct. Put down a cross and write down the correct answer if you're wrong. Alright, let's return to page, let's see, this page. Let's return to page 90 again. Page 90. Okay, so let's look at the blue box here in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, let's underline something. Reported questions and imperatives. So when you report questions, the subject comes before the verb. Put down a star here. Follow the word order of statements. You use ask as a reporting verb. You don't use do, does, or did. You use if or whether for yes or no questions. Okay, so let's look at the example. Do you live near here? Becomes he asked me if I lived there. Okay, so subject and then verb. Are you happy? So he asked me whether, so you can use if in this sentence. I was happy. Okay, so and then a statement, subject and then verb. So remember the order. How about WH questions? What is your name? So I asked him what his name was. So subject, his name, and then verb. Okay, don't say what was his name. That is wrong. Okay, and who wrote these questions? So who wrote these questions? I asked him who had written those questions. So who acts like the subject here. So okay, who had written those questions? Okay, next one. When you report imperatives, you use ask or tell somebody to do something, or tell somebody not to do something. For example, say cheese. So this is an imperative because it begins with the verb. Okay, so they asked me to say cheese. Please don't move. So don't. So she told me not to move. All right. Okay, then let's look at exercise 6. So can you do this in your GE book? This is your homework for today. Okay, please do questions 2 to 8 in your GE book. Okay, and then exercise 8 as well, GE book. Okay, so you have to change. You have to change the sentences here. Okay, you have to change sentences back from reported speech to direct speech. So this one is quite difficult. Okay, so be careful when you do the questions. Okay, so we will check the answers in the next video. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in our WhatsApp group or on eClass or on Google Classroom. Alright, so see you next time. Goodbye, class.